If you've been studying SMC, taking trades, and still ending most of your trading weeks down or break even, there's a reason, and it's not the reason that you've been told. Over the next 25 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what it is, and more importantly, how to fix it. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why your results have been so inconsistent, what a real trading system actually looks like, and the path to finally trading SMC with confidence every single session. So go ahead, get a pen, take notes, because this is the most important video I've ever created on this channel. I've helped hundreds, if not thousands, of SMC traders, and nearly every single one of them sat down with me telling me a variation of the same story. Something along the lines of the fact that they've been trading for months, some of them years, watching videos on my YouTube, studying setups, backtesting, doing everything that they've been told to, and yet still nothing seemed to work for them. So I do what I always do. We jump on the charts and I ask them to map structure for me. They mark the highs, they mark the lows, they draw the breaks of structure, the change of characters, everything they've been taught. And then I ask them one question: are you sure that's correct? And here's what's crazy. Not a single one of them has ever been 100% sure, even if they were correct. They take a second look at the chart, question themselves. Maybe it should be drawn this way instead. They spend just 15 minutes mapping out structure with full confidence. And the moment I questioned it, they had no idea. That's the first sign of the big problem. Then I get them to pull out their recent trades, the wins, the losses, all of it. And then I start asking questions again. Why did you take that order block? What made that one valid? Why did you wait for entry here, but not on this trade? Why did you skip this setup, but take this one? And almost every answer comes back to the same. It looked right. The setup felt clean. I thought price was going to move from there. That's when it became obvious to them. Every single decision that they'd been making was based on what looked right in the moment. Not a rule, not a clear criteria, just a feeling. Their bias was ultimately a guess. Their entries were a feeling. Their exits were from emotions. Even the trades that they were proud of were just decisions that they got lucky with, because they couldn't actually tell me why they took them. And that's the problem. Because if you can't explain why you took a trade, you can't repeat it. If you can't explain why you skipped a trade, you can't learn from it. If your wins and losses are both based on feelings, you have no idea which trades are actually good ones. Now, compare that to a trader who has rules. They map out market structure the same way every time. Their entries follow the same criteria every time. Their exits are the same every time, win or lose. When you ask them why they exited, they can tell you. Every decision for them, every trade had a reason. And that's the difference between a trader and someone who watches the charts and hopes. And here's the part that messes with you. Every time you lose, you can't figure out why. You're left with the doubts that you can't answer. And so you go back to learning. This is where most SMC traders get stuck right now. And if this sounds like you, what I'm about to say next is the most important thing you'll hear about your trading this year. You don't have a knowledge problem. You have a system problem. And I need you to actually sit with that for a moment, because everything that you've been doing to fix your trading has been built on the wrong assumption. You've been assuming that the answer is more knowledge. And so you've been studying more, watching more, buying more courses, hoping that the next piece of information is the one that finally makes it click. And it's not. It never was, and it never will be. Think about what we just walked through. You can already map structure. You can already spot order blocks. You already see liquidity. You can already identify the fair value gaps. But if I asked you to show me any of those on a chart right now, you could. So the knowledge is there. You've put in the hours. The reason that you're not profitable isn't because you don't know enough. It's because every decision that you make on the chart is based on a subjective feeling instead of rules that are proven to work. And until that changes, nothing else will. Here's the good news. You are closer than you think. You don't need to start over. You don't need to throw away what you've learned. You just need to take the knowledge that you already have and put rules underneath it. But again, here's the truth that nobody's telling you. If you don't fix this now, you'll be in the exact same place a year from now. Same struggles, same losses, same doubts. Studying more isn't going to save you. Watching another video isn't going to save you. The only thing that's going to save you are concrete rules. So let me show you what real rules actually look like. Because once you see this, you simply cannot unsee it. A system is simply a set of rules. Rules that tell you exactly what to look for. Rules that tell you exactly when to get in, when to stay out. Same rules. Every single session, no matter what the market is doing, no matter how you're feeling that day, your job is to follow the rules, and that's it. But here's where it gets deeper. Because a real system isn't just a checklist of when you enter and exit. Every single concept you use has to have its own rules underneath it. Take market structure. You need rules for your time frame, because otherwise you just end up looking at all time frames. For example, for me personally, I only use the 15-minute for bias and the 1-minute for entry confirmation. I don't care or need to check any other time frame. And then you have to do the same with order blocks. What makes an order block valid? What makes one invalid? When you decide this, you stick to it. Now you have one way to decide on your entry. The same for liquidity. Which liquidity matters? Define it, label it, and then just only use that. Again, the same for fair value gaps. Which ones do you trade? Which ones do you skip? Which ones don't have any significance? Every single concept that you use needs its own set of rules. Not subjective opinions, not what you think looks right today. Rules. Specific, mechanical, repeatable, and proven. But here's the part that most traders never understand. It's not as simple as just choosing a rule. And it's not as simple as just testing each rule in isolation either. Because a rule for an order block isn't valid or invalid on its own. A rule for a pullback isn't valid or invalid on its own. The rule only matters if it's contributing to a winning trade. And you can't tell if it's contributing until you have a strategy to test it with it. So before you can really start testing anything, you need a strategy framework. What concepts give you your bias? What concepts give you your entry? What confirms the entry? What you're targeting? And that's the framework that's going to give you something to test against. Without it, you've just got a bunch of rules and no way to know if any of them actually work. Once you have that framework, then you can actually start testing each concept. Because now when you change your pullback rule, you can see the impact on your data, on your win rate. When you change your order block definition, you can measure the impact of that change on your data. Same for liquidity, same for fair value gaps. You just measure the impact on your win rate or your risk to reward. Every change is tested against the strategy, and the strategy is what tells you whether the rules are working or not. That's how you actually find your edge. That's how you know if you have a profitable strategy or not. You don't build rules first and then just hope they connect into something profitable. You build the framework first and then you test each concept against it, refining one rule at a time until the strategy as a whole becomes as profitable as you'd like it to be. And let me tell you what testing actually looks like, because most traders have no idea. When I tell you I use the 15-minute for bias and the 1-minute for entries, that didn't come from a guess. I didn't just sit down one day and pick those timeframes. I tested every single combination of timeframes you could think of against my strategy. The 4-hour for bias, the 15 for entries, the 1 hour with the 5-minute, the 30-minute with the 1-minute, every combination across the years of data, tracking how each one performed inside the strategy. Which ones performed the cleanest setups? Which ones had the best risk to reward? What ones kept failing? And only at the end of that did I find that the best combination for what I was trying to do was the 15 and 1. Same with the pullback rule that I have. I didn't just decide one day what a valid pullback looks like. I tested multiple definitions over years of data, different candle counts, different fib retracements, different conditions for what counts as a valid retracement. I'd write out a definition, take it back through years of historical charts, mark every pullback that hit my rule, and then track what happened after. This is how I found the most accurate pullback rule for getting my bias. And after the first version wasn't the best, so I refined it. I tested it again, and that version didn't do so well either. But it was getting gradually better and better. And over time, I got something that I liked. Because if I did that wrong, my entire structure would be wrong, which means my entire bias would be wrong, which means that every trade that I would take after that would be wrong. That's what testing actually looks like. Not 50 trades, not 100 trades, not a quick weekend of backtesting because you've watched a YouTube video on it. Years of data, hundreds of hours of manual work, refining the same rule over and over until it actually holds up. And 9 times out of 10, the first version that you create of the rule doesn't work. So you adjust it, you retest it across the same years of data from scratch. And then you check the new results. And usually that version doesn't hold up either, but maybe it's a little bit better. And so you refine again and again and again. Each round of testing takes weeks, sometimes a month, just for one concept, just to get one rule. Now multiply that by every concept in your strategy, each one going through that exact process. Define, test against the strategy, refine, test again, refine, test again, until every single rule is pulling its weight. That's the work that turns a strategy framework into a real system. The framework gives you the shape. Testing is what gives you the rules, and the refining is what makes the entire thing profitable. And by the time you've done all of this, you've created something that most SMC traders never have: real data. Because every test you ran, every refinement you make, every chart that you marked up, every result you tracked, all of that is data. You weren't just building rules. You were generating proof, hundreds of hours of evidence that your rules, your system actually works. And that's the difference between a trader with a real edge and a trader who's just hoping. The edge isn't the rule on their own. The edge is the rules plus the strategy that they sit inside, plus the data that proves that they hold up together. That data is what tells you your win rate, your average risk to reward, your worst drawdown, your best month, your worst month. The numbers that tell you whether you've built a real edge or just a story that you've told yourself. And so rules without data are just guesses with extra steps. Rules with data tested over years, refined over months, proven to be profitable inside a strategy. That's what makes an edge. And that's what turns trading into a real business. That's what a real system is. A strategy framework, rules underneath every concept, and data that proves it all works. And that's what 99% of SMC traders don't have. Because building this from scratch, trust me, takes 6 months plus, sometimes years of testing, years of refining, years of sitting at charts, manually working through the data that nobody else is willing to do. That's what it takes if you want to compete. We're competing against some of the biggest traders and hedge funds in the world with quant teams of 10 people doing data analysis, and you think you're just going to come here with a YouTube concept and be profitable? That's why so few traders ever get here. So from here, you really only have two options. Option one is you take everything that I've just shared with you today and you go and do it yourself. You build your own strategy framework, you define your own rules around market structure, your own rules around order blocks, liquidity, fair value gaps, whatever concepts you're using. You test each one against your strategy. You refine them, you collect your own data, you do your data analysis, and you build the whole thing from scratch. And trust me, that's a valid option. That's what I had to do. And like I said, if you do it right, it works. But let me be real with you here. It took me years of testing, years of refining, and years of collecting data. And I was doing this full time. For most traders trying to do this on the side, you're looking at months, probably years of just trialing error, or losing trades while you figure it out, or starting over when something doesn't work. Or you can leave here with option two. You can get it done for you. Everything I've already built, everything I've already tested, every rule I've already developed, every piece of data I've already collected, given to you immediately. So you can skip straight to the part where you actually have a system and you can start trading it. And that's exactly why I built the SMC Engine. 4 indicators that do everything we just talked about automatically, built on the exact rules that I developed, the rules I tested, the rules I've been trading with for years. You don't have to learn them. You don't have to develop them. You don't have to test them. You just turn them on and they map your market structure, your order blocks, your liquidity, your fair value gaps. They map everything for you, done automatically, every single session. And now I know what you may be thinking to yourself, but Lewis, I've already seen these indicators. You go on TradingView in indicators and search market structure, search liquidity, search fair value gaps, and you'll get an indicator. I'll be real with you. I've looked at so many of these indicators on the market to see whether I even need to build it. Because what I've built here that I'm releasing, I built for myself to make my own trading simpler because it's built on my rules, my system. And so I scoured TradingView and the indicators available to see whether they were already built, whether I could just use them to make my life easier. And what I found was every single market structure indicator that I looked at mapped market structure completely wrong. And this is from someone who has spent the time developing an understanding of what real market structure is and what fake market structure is. Every structure indicator that I seen wasn't repeatable. It was completely random every single time. One break of structure would follow a certain piece of logic. Another break of structure would be a completely different piece of logic, a change of character. All of things market structure were just a mess. None of them actually gave you a bias. They just looked at some random high and random low, and when it broke, they labeled it. That's not going to give you market structure. And there are so many of them with different variations. And so I'm telling you, like I've looked at the indicators that are available, which is why it's only right that I went and built my own for myself. And on top of the SMC engine that I've developed, I'm giving you my full trading strategy, the complete edge, backed by over 3 years of real data, the exact strategy that I've sold for thousands of dollars, the strategy that real traders have used to get funded and pull real payouts from prop firms, like Ralph, $23,500 in a single payout. Over $50,000 in total rewards. Bill, for example, first ever payout from a $200,000 funded account. Chester, Third payout, consistent again month after month. Ilkan, who has max allocation on FTMO and gold tier overall rewards. Stefan with his first ever prop firm payout, $6,400. Again, this is real traders, real results, real proof, all using this system and this indicator. And that's not to mention the hundreds of others. So let me walk you through exactly what you're getting here today. First, you're going to get my market structure indicator. This automatically maps your swing highs, your swing lows, your trend direction, breaks of structure, changes of character, every session the same way, every time. No manual work, no guessing. The rules are already built in. Then you're getting the order block indicator. Again, this is something that automatically identifies and marks every valid institutional order block on your chart in real time. No manual marking, no second guessing which one is valid and which one isn't. The rules are already built in. Then there's the liquidity indicator. This automatically maps every buy side and sell side liquidity level on your chart that's actually important. You can see exactly where smart money is hunting, already done for you again. And then there's fair value gaps. Every imbalance in price automatically plotted on your chart every time frame. You never have to manually go mark them again for yourself. And then the full SMC trading strategy. The complete edge, like I told you, backed by over 3 years of real data and hours on hours on hours of me showing you trade by trade the 3 years of data, the entire system, built around the same rules, the same process, the same system. You'll also get access to the full training on the indicator. There's a full video walkthrough showing you exactly how to use every indicator, what it's built based off of. Real trade walkthroughs where I break down live trades using the system so you can see how it all comes together for yourself. And here's what having all of that actually gives you. The first one is clarity. Right now, every time you open the charts, you're spending time trying to figure out what's happening. Is the market bullish? Is it bearish? Where's the highs? Where's the lows? Where's the liquidity? Where should I be looking? That time is gone. That confusion is gone. From the moment that you open your charts, everything is already mapped for you. You know instantly what's happening and where to look. The second is confidence. Right now, every trade that you take comes with doubt. Did I get it right? Is this a valid order block? Should I be in this trade? When you have a system that's backed by real data, real rules, that doubt disappears. You're not guessing anymore. You're just following a process that has been tested and proven. And that confidence changes everything about how you execute. The next thing is speed. What used to take you 20 minutes of manual work, mapping structure, marking your order blocks, all of your concepts, now takes seconds. You open the chart and the engine has already done everything for you. You just look for your setup and then you either take it or you don't. Simple, effortless. The next thing is consistency, and this is a big one for me. Right now, every session is different because you're doing it differently every time. Whereas with the SMC engine, your process doesn't change. It's the same rules, the same indicators, the same decisions every single session. And that consistency in your process is what creates consistency in your results, which leads me on to the next point, and that is your results. When you have clarity, confidence, speed, and consistency, everything changes. You don't miss trades anymore. You stop getting caught on the wrong side of the market. You stop second guessing your analysis, and you start trading with real data. You start seeing consistent results. And finally, trading feels like an actual profitable business. And so let's take a look at what all of this here is worth. The 4 indicators as a complete package is $997. The full trading strategy with over 3 years of real data is worth over $1,500. The SMC indicator training and real trade walkthroughs, that's $500. And the SMC Engine community is worth $50 monthly. And so the total value of everything you're getting today is worth over $3,000. But you're not investing $3,000 today. In fact, you're not even investing $1,500. You're not even investing $997. Today, your investment is just $297 for everything that we've just covered. Now, let me tell you why that matters and why this price will never be seen again. We plan to continue building and developing this product. Over the next few months, we're releasing trade alert indicators that will notify you when a valid setup is forming based on the exact rules that are built into the engine. So no more sitting at the charts waiting. The system tells you when it's time to look. We're also building an AI coaching agent, which is an agent trained on everything I know. Every teaching, every strategy, every concept. A 24-hour, 7-day-a-week coach that you can speak to whenever you get stuck. Share your charts with it, ask questions, get your analysis reviewed, journal your trades, walk through your psychology, like having me available to you at all times. Now, when these updates go live, this becomes a yearly subscription, $1,500 every single year to have access to the full system. But since we've just launched this, if you join today, you get access to everything that's live now and everything coming for life for just a one-time payment of $297. And like I said, you will never see this price again. Once this moves to a subscription, that's it. This offer is gone forever. Now imagine waking up tomorrow knowing that you have all of this. No more stressing about whether your bias is correct. No more sitting there for 20 minutes trying to figure out market structure. No more wondering whether you should take this order block or this fair value gap. No more worrying about whether the liquidity is going to affect your trade or not. No more having no strategy and no rules to follow. You simply wake up, you open your charts, you realize that everything is already mapped for you. You know exactly what's happening. You know exactly where to look, and you just follow the system. You either take the trade or you don't. And then you close the laptop knowing that you traded with a real process behind every single decision. That's what this gives you. The link to access this is going to be below this video in the description. So you can click on it, create your account, get yourself set up, and I'll see you on the inside.